Why are veterans homeless to begin with? Is it because nobody cares about them? Is it because they have a drug problem? Is it because they don't want to work and they're lazy? What's the reason? Well, from what we've seen, there's usually three main factors as to why a veteran is homeless. And the last one might surprise you. Let's get into it. What are the three things that lead a veteran to become homeless or unhoused? The first, and usually the most common we see, is financial pressure or loss of income. Usually that looks like job loss, but sometimes it can be something underlying that even, such as loss of transportation. If a veteran loses their vehicle and they can no longer get to work, at least on time, they end up losing their job, therefore can't afford the vehicle anymore, and it spirals until they end up unhoused. Another factor with income that we commonly see is bleeding of income that most of the time people account for in a good, financially healthy situation. Unnecessary items like DoorDash or Uber, a lot of subscriptions and fees that pile up. It can also be poor financial decisions such as gambling or investing in high-risk assets. All of those factors combined financially can put a veteran or anyone in a tough financial position. So that's the first underlying thing that we see when it comes to becoming unhoused, is there's usually some significant financial stressor. And it's really surprising how easy that can happen to pretty much anybody. Bills can pile up quickly if one thing happens, like you lose your only source of transportation or your only source of income. It can really happen fast to where if you don't have an emergency fund to dive into, you might be in a tough situation. And today, most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So really, there's a lot of people that are in that exact scenario right now, and they might be doing fine because they have a consistent source of income, but if that were to disappear, it could completely change their situation. So the first is income. The second is kind of twofold: mental health or physical health issues. With veterans, they'll have different disabilities that come up later in life due to their service, or even as a young, healthy veteran, they can have different types of disabilities from their service that kind of come to a head and can create issues for them, not only with employment, but also on the mental health side, and force them to have to really go through a lot of intensive therapy to be in a good place to be able to support themselves. So the second, physical and mental health, really plays a big role in whether they stay housed or not. And of course, if you can't get mental or physical health and you become unhoused, it becomes that much harder and less attainable for you. That would be the second, is your physical and mental health. And so lastly, for the third most common thing I see with veterans facing homelessness is their support network. That is different for every veteran, but I know many, when they get out of the service, decide not to go back to wherever they originally came from. And that's often for this concept of a fresh start, which I think a lot of people could understand why you would want to do that. The problem with that is that their support network, their family and friends that care about them and would do things like have them, sleep on their couch or something like that, are usually across the country or in a different state. So it makes it that much harder for that veteran if they move somewhere new and then fall on hard times. Those immediate people that would normally be there to help aren't. And of course, we have in that a lot of onus on the veterans themselves, because as veterans are taught within the military, usually asking for help is looked upon as a sign of weakness. Not always, but usually, in the sense that you are now burdening your teammates and peers to help pick up the slack that you are now burdening them with. So most service members, most veterans will go to extreme lengths to not ask for help because they feel as though they are now burdening others. In that, most veterans won't ask for help from those family members to begin with, and they don't know that there are resources out there for them. So because they're not asking for it, they don't understand that there's state or federal resources that could help them when they're in these situations, like, HUD-VASH vouchers through the VA, or state resources like the Arizona Department of Veteran Services. Those things don't really pop up on their radar until they absolutely need them, or when somebody talks to them about it, because they've never asked for help outside of that before. Support network being both on the veteran and the community, because of course the community can't help if they don't know that there's a problem. So most veterans will silently go into homelessness because they don't want to ask for help, they don't want to be a burden, they have a acute, sudden financial strain, or they have loss of their physical health or their mental health. And with those three things combined, you usually see this perfect storm that leads many veterans that are able-bodied, employable, and good, hardworking people onto the street. And then of course from there it only gets uglier and more difficult to get veterans the resources they need. So that's where we come in providing eviction prevention to ensure that if the veteran has a chance, we can get them access to those resources that they weren't asking for, plug them into a community, get that support network, fix that third issue, and then slowly work on the second and first till they're stabilized and no longer facing homelessness. Those are the three things we most commonly see with veterans and why they're in the situation they're in. And those are situations that happen to everybody. To recap, the three things are an acute financial strain, mental or physical health issues, and a lack of support network. That ultimately can lead a veteran to become unhoused and in that terrible situation. So the next time you see a veteran on the street, let them know about the Home of Record Project. Let them know that there's a resource out there for them to help get them back up on their feet and into long-term stable housing. Because that's why we're here, that's the work that we do. That's our mission, is to make sure that no veteran is unhoused. We know that we cannot do this alone, so we really appreciate all the help that the community's given us so far. So thank you for your support, thank you for helping to house veterans, and I'll see you on the next one.